Hello and welcome to Maxim Foods Inside Track. Well, we're 10 days into the Olympics. It's a pretty good vibe around Australia at the moment. We're sitting third today on the medal tally at 14 gold. Arissa True this morning, the youngest gold medalist ever for Australia at 14 years of age. She'd be frothing at the moment. But yeah, it's been a great week so far for the Aussies, and we hope the remaining days of the Olympics are just as good as the start. Let's have a look at the dairy industry. Interesting result last night on the GDT. The NZX and futures market really did expect more downside than what had occurred. So a promising start to the season for New Zealand. Starting with whole milk powder, we saw a positive result there, 2.4% up. Most of the experts and also the futures market were predicting downward movement there. Obviously, being start of the season, a lot more volume put on the auction, but that seemed to get gobbled up, in particular by North Asia. China were back buying 38% of the whole milk on this auction as per 25% last auction. So yeah, that really did help along that whole milk demand, and has breathed a bit of life back into the whole milk market, making a bit more of a steadier outlook rather than the bearish one that we have predicted in the last couple of months. Moving across to skim milk powder, the non-fat market in the US is reasonably stable. In the EU, yeah, bearish to stable conditions as well, as demand meets supply there. So yeah, not a lot of movement in both of those markets. In Australia, not a lot of excitement as well. Skim milk powder dropped on the GDT last night as expected. However, we're not seeing any real bullish signs to lift that market in the next 3 to 6 months. Having a look at butterfat, so if we look at it on a global scale, in the US, demand's still good domestically, and with milk being down in the US over May, June, July, butterfat is still quite firm in pricing. In the EU, it's been a bit all over the place over the last 3 months, but you would suspect a firm outlook for butter going into the second half of the calendar year over there. Less milk, demand holding up okay, so pricing should remain firm. In the Australian-New Zealand market, if we look across New Zealand, we had China quite active in AMF demand overnight on the GDT, which has helped lift that price. Butter came back a little bit, but in terms of 5-year pricing, it's still quite firm. In Australia, as we know and spoken of recently, there has been excess fat around, but we should see that clear up coming into end of season. So we probably will see that delta in Australian New Zealand butter coming a bit closer in price. In terms of a 3-month outlook, we would suspect a reasonably firm outlook on butterfat. Having a look at cheese across the globe, so in the US, we've seen May, June and July all negative results on milk production. Some real hot conditions in the Midwest and around the country, really attributing to a decline in milk, especially from last year. So yeah, it is less supply on the market, and which really has sparked the market into action, and pricing has been quite firm over the last 2 to 3 months, particularly on mozzarella and cheddar. Having a look at the EU, last 2 to 3 months has been relatively stable in pricing. Typically the second half of the year in the EU, milk will decline. Therefore we should see less supply, and if demand holds up, pricing will remain firm. And so we are looking at a reasonably stable to firm outlook over the next 3 to 6 months in the EU on cheese. Australia and New Zealand, a bit of a tricky one to pick. New Zealand, we are coming into the season, and over the last 2 to 3 months, supply has been reasonably healthy of cheese, so there's going to have to be some more demand come through to keep pricing firm. In the Australian side of things, we have seen a bit of a dip in retail food service demand, so cheese, which we have seen quite abundant in supply in the last 6 months in Australia, that volume has been worked through. However, we are now coming into new season, so we really will need that retail food service demand to tick up to take on the added supply. So in a broad summary, we see a reasonably stable to perhaps bearish cheese market in Australia and New Zealand. Having a look at whey powder, we have seen some uptick in demand, especially in the feed market in China, which has helped along that reasonably flat sweet whey market, which we've seen over the last 6 to 12 months. Pricing still reasonably stable. If we look at the proteins, once again, WPC, especially in the US, lack of milk, lack of supply, really driving that PC market up, and then on the back of that, WPI, especially in Europe, has been short on supply. So once again, we're seeing that ever volatile protein market charging on. In a real broad summary, Northern Hemisphere, milk's on the decline, demand holding up, so we will see more firmer pricing in the next 3 months on that side of the globe. Australia and New Zealand, a bit of a different story, a bit of a wait and see on how the first couple of months milk production goes, and hope that demand domestically in Australia can hold up butter and cheese pricing. In New Zealand, it's good to see China's uptick in participation last night on the GDT, which has helped firm some of that pricing and change some people's perceptions on the short-term outlook of dairy in Australia and New Zealand. Thanks very much for listening to today's Inside Track. I hope all is well. Take care of yourself, and we'll be seeing you again in a fortnight.